Introduction: Breaking the Success Barrier in Sales. When I began selling cold calling from office to office during the day and from house to apartment during the evening, I was terrified of closing. Every day I would sally forth to sell, unafraid to get face-to-face with prospects and enthusiastically deliver my sales information. Then, at the end, I would choke up and ask hesitatingly, "What do you want to do now?" Invariably, the prospect would say, "Well, leave it with me and let me think about it." I learned later that the words, "let me think it over," or "let me think about it," are polite customer speak for "goodbye forever, we'll never meet again." I convinced myself that people all over town were thinking it over, and that my phone would soon fall off the hook with eager buyers. But no one ever called. I finally realized that it was not the product, the price, the market, or the competition that was holding me back from making sales. It was me. More specifically, it was my fear of asking a closing question. One day I decided that I had had enough of frustration and failure. My very next call, when the prospect said, "Let me think about it, why don't you call me back?" I said something that changed my life. I replied with my heart in my throat, "I'm sorry, I don't make callbacks." "Excuse me," he said, a bit surprised. "You don't make callbacks?" "No," I said. "You know everything you need to know to make a decision right now. Why don't you just take it?" He looked at me, then down at my brochure, and then looked up and said, "Well, if you don't make callbacks, I might as well just take it." And he did. He got out his checkbook, signed the order, paid me, and thanked me for coming. I walked out with the order in a mild state of shock. I had just experienced a major breakthrough. I went next door, made my presentation to the decision-maker, and used the same words when he asked for time to think it over. "I don't make callbacks." He said, "All right, then I'll take it now." After my third sale in less than 45 minutes, compared with my normal rate of 3 sales per week, I was walking on air. Within 1 month, I had broken every sales record for my company, been promoted to sales manager, and increased my income 20 times. I had 32 salespeople working under me, all of whom I trained to ask for the order at the first meeting. Business boomed. Over the years, I've learned that knowledge of the key closing skills is essential to your making the kind of money you are truly capable of. I have studied, practiced, and used countless sales closing techniques, all included in this book, and trained more than 1 million salespeople to be sales stars. The biggest single obstacle to great success in selling is your ability to get a prospect to take action. The purpose of this book is to show you how to remove this obstacle so that you can make all the sales and all the money you want. All top salespeople are good at closing. They know how to prospect professionally, identify needs, build trust, answer objections, and ask for the order in several different ways. They understand why prospects hesitate and delay, and they know how to structure their offerings to overcome these obstacles. As a result, they join the top 20% of salespeople who make all the money. When I started out in selling, I got no training at all. I was given some brochures to read and told to go out and talk to people. I was nervous about cold calling and afraid of rejection, of which I got a lot. I trudged from office to office and from door to door, barely making enough to get by. The great question. Then one day I began asking, why is it that some salespeople are more successful than others? This question changed my life. From that day forward, I asked other salespeople for advice, especially on how to answer objections and close sales. I read every book I could find and practiced the best answers they contained. I listened to audio programs of top salespeople explaining their techniques. I attended sales seminars and sat up front. Most of all, I took action on everything I learned. If it sounded good, I would go out immediately and try it on real live prospects. I discovered later that this is the only way to learn, when there is a real possibility of succeeding or failing. Above all, I learned how to ask for the order and to close the sale. I practiced every closing technique I found several times with hesitant prospects. Eventually, I reached the point where I was completely unafraid to ask the prospect to make a buying decision. This skill quickly took me from rags to riches, from new salesperson to the top of every sales organization I ever worked for. The Great Breakthrough. I later learned a remarkable thing. If you are completely fluent in closing and absolutely confident in your ability to ask for the order at the end of your sales presentation, you will be more aggressive about prospecting in the first place. You will have higher self-esteem and a better self-image. You will be more active each sales day, and you'll even use your time better. Because you know that you can close the sale, you will feel like a winner most of the time. This self-confidence will positively affect your prospects, making them even more likely to buy from you. Your whole sales career will move onto an upward spiral of increasing success. The best news is that all sales skills, including closing, are learned and learnable. If you can drive a car, you can learn how to close the sale. The only reason that you may be nervous about closing today is because you have not yet mastered the process. But once you learn to close, using these time-tested methods, you can use them over and over. As you do, you will get better and better. In no time at all, you will be one of the most successful and highest-paid people in your field, and your future will be unlimited. Chapter 1. Developing a Powerful Sales Personality. To be what we are and to become what we are capable of becoming is the only real end of life. Robert Louis Stevenson. Becoming excellent in closing sales is an inside job. It begins within you. In sales, your personality is more important than your product knowledge. It is more important than your sales skills. It's more important than the product or service that you are selling. In fact, your personality determines fully 80% of your sales success. This is easily proven by the fact that there are salespeople who can still achieve high sales volumes even with a highly competitive, expensive product in a depressed market. At the same time, there are people with exclusive products in buoyant markets who are selling poorly. Mental fitness is very similar to physical fitness in several ways. Physical fitness requires proper diet and exercise. Mental fitness requires a proper mental diet and regular practice. Become more mentally fit, and your happiness and sales volume will rise accordingly. Top salespeople have high levels of self-confidence and self-esteem. Self-confidence is the natural growth of liking and respecting yourself. The better you feel about yourself, the more confidence you will have in prospecting, presenting, and closing sales. Without self-confidence, it's almost impossible to be successful in selling. If you lack confidence, you will come up with every excuse to avoid talking to prospects or taking any action where there is a possibility for failure or rejection. Remember, the more you like yourself, the more you like others. You like other people, and they will have confidence in you. The more confidence they have in you, the more likely it is that they will buy what you are selling. We always feel better accepting the recommendation of someone whom we feel likes us than someone that we are not sure about. We prefer to buy from people whom we feel care about us. Like and care about yourself, and you will genuinely like others and be more successful with them. Sometimes I ask my sales audiences, how many people here are self-employed? About 10 or 15% of the audience raises their hands. Then I ask again, how many people here are really self-employed? One by one, the audience realizes what I'm getting at. One at a time, they raise their hands. They suddenly realize that they are all self-employed. The biggest mistake you can ever make is to ever think that you work for anyone else but yourself. From the time you take your first job until the day you retire, you are self-employed. You are the president of your own entrepreneurial corporation, selling your services into the marketplace at the highest price possible. You have only one employee, yourself. Your job is to sell the highest quality and quantity of your services throughout your working life. Top salespeople accept 100% responsibility for themselves and everything they do. They take full responsibility for their activities and for their results. They refuse to make excuses or blame others. They say no to criticizing and complaining. Top salespeople say, if it's to be, it's up to me. In a study done in New York some years ago, researchers found that the top 3% of people in every field looked upon themselves as self-employed. They treated the company as if it belonged to them personally. They saw themselves as being in charge of every aspect of their lives. They took everything that happened to their company personally, exactly as if they owned 100% of the stock. The sales manager of a Fortune 500 company once told me an interesting story. He said that he was with his top salesman negotiating the final terms and conditions of a $200 million contract with a major client. During a break, the client pulled him aside and asked, referring to the salesman, "That man owns your company, doesn't he?" The sales manager, knowing the salesman, was a bit surprised. He said, "What makes you say that?" "Well," the client said, "in all my meetings with him, he constantly refers to the company as my company and my people and my contract and so on. He sounds like he actually owns the whole company. Is that true?" My friend, the sales manager, smiled and said, "Yes, in a way he does." As the president of your own personal services corporation, you are 100% in charge of everything that happens to your business. You are in command of training and development, and of continually upgrading your skills. You are in control of sales and marketing, production and quality control, and personal organization and efficiency. You are the boss. It's absolutely amazing how many people see themselves passively rather than actively. Instead of taking charge of their lives and changing things they don't like, they wait passively for the company to come along and do it for them. The great majority of adults do not invest in their own personal and professional development. They do not read, listen to audio programs, or attend courses. They expect the company to do this for them, not only to pay for it, but also to give them the time off to upgrade their skills so that they can earn more money. Go figure.